Welcome to Geek Archeology. On this episode, I'm breaking open the Estes Space Shuttle flying model rocket originally released in 1977. I'm not sure what the vintage of mine is. I'm guessing it's 77 based on the packaging, but we'll see when we open it up. This Geek Archeology episode is going to be a little different from the others because I'm going to open the kit and see what's inside. This is going to be my next rocket build and my first new one since I finished completing the R2-D2 flying model rocket. Okay, so Space Shuttle Flying Model Rocket. I never built this one as a kid because I just don't think I had the skills for it, and maybe my dad wouldn't let me. I don't remember. But in any case, I have this one inherited from my dad. I've seen this fly once, and it was kind of awesomely hilarious because it took off, and the external fuel tank and the SRBs are all just one part of the rocket. The SRBs don't actually come off. The solid rocket boosters don't come off. But the orbiter does. At apogee, the orbiter comes off. It's supposed to detach and then glide back on its own. And when I saw this thing fly, it certainly went up and it got to apogee. And when it started to come back down again, the parachute did not come out. And as a result, it just plummeted towards the ground and the orbiter peeled off near the end. And then it just kind of glided down over the wreckage of the rest of the rocket. This is going to be my next build. I'm building towards, the Mars lander. So this is a skill level 4 rocket. Mars lander is a skill level 5. And I'm basically just trying to get back into the groove. The last rocket I built was R2-D2, which was a skill level 2. He's pretty easy. But the Enterprise, which I'll probably talk about in another episode at some point, is a lot more challenging, and that was skill level 4. And the hardest part of that was actually painting it, which I don't think I'm going to have that problem with this rocket unless I decide to paint the external fuel tank brown. It's the question. Do you go traditional and represent the original Columbia on her maiden voyage, where her external fuel tank was painted white? Or do you go brown, which is what they did when they realized they didn't need to paint it anymore because it was just adding weight to the rocket? So, cutting open 50-year-old plastic and trying to be judicious about it. So, let's see what we've got inside. All right, guides. So this is basically telling you how to mark up the tubes. It's pretty standard. Oh, look, there's a space shuttle ruler, just in case you didn't have your own. A hefty set of instructions. This should be freaking awesome. So, folks, this is going to be a complicated build. Black and white instructions is pretty standard. And let's see, is there a copyright date on this puppy so I can figure out when this one actually came out? I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of the 1977 ones because I think that's probably right. So you get, for science, they do a little blurb explaining what the space shuttle was, which was, still at the time, it was cutting edge technology. It was the next big thing. The instructions kind of walk you through, well, how to build the rocket. And this is like the complicated parts, right? So this is the solid rocket boosters. There's these little addendum thingies that you got to add well, not addendums, but details that you need to add, which are plastic and cardboard and dowels, I think. External fuel tank, so you can have the oxygen line and all that good stuff. The obligatory exploded view of all of the parts. I am not going to bore everybody by going through and inventorying every single piece on the on this episode, but God, I love that font for the space shuttle. That's really fantastic. This is pretty standard. One of the challenges I've had with building models that are almost 50 years old is sometimes they refer to things like particular kinds of paints or particular kinds of glue that we just don't call it by that anymore. I ran into this problem with the Enterprise, or the colors of the paints they just don't exist anymore. So you might have to do truly some research and geek archaeology to figure out what the new version of those things are. Thankfully, there's a model rocketry forum that I participate in where they've had lots of great advice on how to do this. So I can always go there to get more information. This is the breakdown of how to build the orbiter, which, again, plastic glider. Guys, this is going to be a challenging build. And there will be some opportunities as far as painting is concerned. So they give you the breakdown of the color scheme, which is pretty awesome. Detail work on model rockets with painting is kind of a pain, guys. But there you go. Those are the instructions, and you can see when it flies, to give it a little bit more stability, because the monorocket version of this is not going to fly as well as the regular shuttle, obviously, or the regular shuttle system. So you end up with these left fin and right fin units that you put into the solid rocket boosters to give it just a little bit more stability so that it doesn't go flying off in random directions, which it probably would do if you didn't actually put in those fins. So, let's see. Continuing to open her up. This is interesting. You've got, oh, hey, the plastic of the bag melted onto the plastic of one of the internal bags. You never know what surprises my dad left for me. This is great. So, as I've told some folks, one of the challenges with these kits is that they were in my dad's rocket closet in his garage for 50 years. They were exposed to heat and cold for 50 years. And sometimes you have some challenges as a result. This looks like it's all of the miscellaneous body tubes and what have you, probably for the SRBs. And we got some weights and parachutes, and yeah, one big parachute. I think it's an 18-inch parachute. And these are the internal structures for the external fuel tank. Let's see. Dowels, because when you have a model rocket, you're gonna have dowels. I know those two. Oh, you know what? Those tubes must be for the extenders for the solid rocket boosters. These must be for the solid rocket boosters. And then this is the main This is the extended. This is for the external fuel tank. These are for the SRBs. It's all coming back to me. And then let's see. These are all the plastic bits for the solid rocket booster, nose of the external fuel tank. Yeah, so I think how this works, if I remember correctly, is the external fuel tank actually has the rockets in it. So it's going to have a C engine. So the rocket engine mount is going to go in here rather than in the SRBs. It's not a realistic model. It's just, well, I mean, it's realistic in terms of scale, but it's not realistic in terms of how the shuttle actually flew. And then in here, I don't think I'm going to break it out right now because I don't want to have to put it back in, is the orbiter itself. It is just a plastic framework, and I don't want to touch this until I have to because I don't want to lose any pieces. Those must be the shuttle main engines, the shuttle front nose piece. So yeah, I don't see the decals must be somewhere. I bet you they're in this bag. So I'm going to take a look at those later. One of my other challenges is that all the decals are hideously old. Because they've been exposed to heat and cold for a goodly number of years, the decals tend to not hold up very well. Fortunately, I have found a website that is publishing legacy Estes decals, and I can get new decals for the space shuttle from there. I don't remember. I don't know. I think if this is like the other orbiter I built, so they have a standalone orbiter model, it might have come with all of the names of the subsequent shuttles, but this is 77. They might not actually even have had names for the shuttles yet. I don't know. That'll be interesting. I wonder. Okay, now I'm tempted. I'm gonna just open this bag because I want to see if I can find the decals. Because I honestly don't. I mean, I was little. Let's see, in 1977, I was 6. I don't think I was paying attention to the NASA press releases at that point. Maybe when I was 9. We got some balsa wood. Oh, here we go. Ah, beautiful. Okay, so that was worth getting out. Here we go, folks. They had all the shuttle names. Enterprise, which was the test orbiter. I actually got to see that over at the Intrepid Aerospace Museum in New York, which I recommend seeing. It's freaking awesome. Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, and Atlantis. They don't have Endeavour, which was the replacement for Challenger, if I remember correctly. It started off as like an advanced prototype, and then they were able to complete it to rebuild out the shuttle fleet after the Challenger disaster. But there we go. We got all 5. So the question is, which one do I go with? I kind of feel like I want to go with Enterprise, because although not factually correct, because the Enterprise never flew into space, I kind of want to have the shuttle Enterprise and the flying model rocket Starship Enterprise. Anyway, that can be a geeky decision for another day. There you go. This is Geek Archeology, and this is my next project. So you can expect some additional videos over time as I start working on this puppy. We're probably going to be streaming those over on Moonbeam because that's one of the experiments I wanted to do, was try and do some additional content over on Moonbeam. And working on a model rocket seems like a fun pastime for over there. This has been Geek Archaeology as part of Lair of Secrets. You can get more videos over on our podcast at YouTube, and you can visit us at lairofsecrets.com.